Hello everyone, Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back to my channel. In this episode, I'm going to describe about the API Gateway, and we will use Ocelot as the API Gateway. So let's start. So before proceeding to the actual code, let me just describe what I'm going to do. So existing way, we have an application web API that is cell, and it is exposed with the port 90001, and also we may have another application that is another API. We can name it as customer, and the port is exposed is 91001. So we already had the application in our code, in our repository, that there is an API. The route is /API/rabbit message, and also we had another node.js application API endpoint that is /API/rabbit message. That is already in here. And also what we did in our previous episodes, like we added a RabbitMQ pipeline, and we connected with the RabbitMQ from our cell application, and also we connected with RabbitMQ from our customer application. And also we had two different handlers. One was cell handler, which is implemented with .NET. Another one is customer handler, which is implemented with Node.js application. I will also go through the code in this video as well. If you don't understand the previous episodes, that's okay. I will go through the code again in this episode as well. So don't worry. And if we want to receive any message, then we have to connect with the RabbitMQ from the handlers. So this is what we did so far. Now, what's the problem? The problem is that if our Postman or our React application wants to call the cell application, then it has to know the actual port it is exposed and actual domain name and other stuff, and customer endpoint as well. And just imagine into the microservice architecture, then any client application, be it in React or be it from Postman, it is very unrealistic for us to know every endpoint, every port, every routes it has. So what we do, we introduce a new term that is gateway. So what the gateway does is, it is an application, hosted application, and suppose it is exposed with the port 1234. So what happens then is there is a configuration mapping in here. So every gateway has a configuration. So be it a .NET, be it an Express.js, whatever the gateway is, that's not the problem. Every gateway has a configuration mapping, and the mapping has an endpoint pattern. So in here we can see that the API/cell/RabbitMQ, if any request comes to gateway port 1234/API/cell/rabbit message, it will be pointed towards the cell application. I mean, with the port 90001 and the API/rabbit message. Similarly, if we have another request coming to API/customer/rabbit message, it will be pointed towards to 91001/API/rabbit message. This is a configuration mapping. So yeah, that's all. Now for the vocabulary purpose, we have another term that is called upstream. So whenever you heard anything related with upstream, you understand it is the thing which actually client calls. It is before converting the routes, and the downstream is the routes or the applications which will be called from the upstream to downstream. So yep. Now if we go back to our code, this is the repository. I opened the whole repository into the VS Code. Now we have already API application, you already know that, and we have another event handler, you already know that, we saw it in our previous episodes. Now what I did also, I exposed Okay, this is a very basic Express application. I described it previously as well. So as you can see, there is a GET request exposed here, and yeah, and this, if any GET request requested here, it will send a message to send queue. This is not fan out, by the way. And another one is I created is default .NET application that is called Ocelot API Gatway. And the interesting part here is the program.js. Here we are adding the configuration.json file. So this is the thing we added specifically for configuration. And in our startup, we added 2 lines of code only. Number 1 is .ocelot. Number 2 is use Ocelot. So, so if you are .NET application developer, you know ASP.NET Core application, how it works. So it is very easy for you. In case you don't know your Node.js application, it's just adding the Ocelot whenever we starting up the application. That's all. Now, if we go back to the configuration, this is the thing I wanted to show you. So the downstream is defined here. So whenever we are having something gateway / RabbitMQ, so what can I do is /cell. We don't need gateway. Then the Ocelot will map this route with this route, and the port it will map is 44392. Why is this? Because in our API, if you see, this is the port we are running the application for the Cell API. And similarly, if okay, so this is the only one application. Let's just run this. Then we can go deep to other configuration as well. So let's run it manually. This one is cell. Then API .NET run. Okay, it is running to 5001 port. Maybe we need to change this. Where is our this one? 5001 port, this one. So we added 50,000 001 50,000 000. Let's run again. Where is it? Always getting the 5,000. Let me just check this again. Sorry for that. Okay, I'm in Ocelot cell. Yep. So yeah, I mistakenly changed the Ocelot. So this one is API properties, launch settings, 50,001 and 50,000. Okay, and it is exposed with 50,001 and 50,000. So in here we can point 50,001 because HTTPS 50,001, HTTPS schema 50,001. Okay, and for the Ocelot itself, we didn't run yet. So let's run again. Source, I'm inside of source. API Gateway. It is another .NET application. I will restructure the folder after this video. So .NET run. It is exposed with 5,000. So in here we need to change this as well. So in here 5001. So whenever any request comes to 5001 and the URL is cell/RabbitMQ message, it will be point directs to localhost 50,001 and this URL. Let's see. So 5001. Let me just open this localhost 5001. We have the Swagger here. So what is our endpoint? Cell rabbit message. So okay, so somehow it is true. Let me show you how it is true. Okay, so we have cell API. Where is the cell controller rabbit message, and it is returning true. But let me also show you the handler message as well. So cd, where is our thing? Cell handler. So event handler, it is a .NET application, .NET run. See, so whenever this client connected with the RabbitMQ, RabbitMQ pushes the message to the client. So okay, let's run again. Where is our endpoint? Okay, so just think what's happening. This is the URL I am sending from, suppose Postman or React, or in here it is browser. It will first go to where? The Ocelot. Ocelot will map this URL and redirect the request or move the request to the cell application, which is the 50,001. And whenever it receives the message, suppose see it is the GUID FE9, and then it broadcasts the message to the RabbitMQ, and RabbitMQ sends the message to the handler, which is this one. I hope you can see my mouse. Yep. Yeah. So FE9. Now let's also see the node.js application. The node.js cd customer cd handler is a node.js application. So node index.js. It is listing with the port 3000. But since it is connected with RabbitMQ, we don't have to worry about that anymore. So let's run this. So yep, the Node.js application also got the message CB0 and CB0, CB0. So let's recap the whole thing again. So whenever we get any request to the cell, it sends the message to Rabbit message. Sorry, sends the request to Rabbit message, and it actually broadcasts the message to the RabbitMQ, and the RabbitMQ actually broadcasts the message to the handlers. Then the handlers actually executing for that message. So yep, that's all the basic of the API gateway. Then we can go deep dive of the API gateway. Thanks for watching. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullah.